The purpose of it is that given the wave, the extraordinary, unprecedented wave of infections that we are experiencing now and will certainly experience more of in the next few weeks, that there is the danger that there will be so many people who are being isolated, who are asymptomatic for the full 10 days, that you could have a major negative impact on our ability to keep society running. So the decision was made, although it's not completely risk-free, of saying, let's get that cut in half so that we could have 50%, namely half of the 10 days, and 50% of that time, people can actually be out with a mask in society.
So the Joe Biden administration has decided to loosen the COVID-19 guidelines for people who are asymptomatic, suggesting that instead of quarantining for 10 days, they just quarantine for 5 days and wear a mask for the second 5 days. Now, here's why that plan is entirely garbage. First and foremost, you can see from Fauci's words that they made this decision purely based off economics. They want to make sure that people continue to buy things and that the capitalist machine continues to run. And as always, the capitalist machine is running on blood, because as it stands today, COVID cases are higher than ever. And if you look at this graph, you can see that very conveniently, the bottom of the graph is 2.1 thousand deaths daily. That is a 9/11 worth of deaths every single day. The Biden administration is deciding that, hey, let's loosen the restrictions anyway. Because what do they ultimately care about? They care about the profits of giant companies. That is it. It doesn't matter how many Americans die, they will loosen restrictions if that is what it takes to keep our economy running. I mean, literally, look at this chart. Think about it for 1 second. The dates on these charts are exactly the same. And why is that a problem? Well, the problem is because people don't die from coronavirus the very day that they test positive for coronavirus. There's actually a lag of several weeks to even a couple months between when people get coronavirus and test positive and when they die from coronavirus. So when Joe Biden is like, oh, even though the coronavirus has reached its peak right now in terms of cases, look how low deaths are. He's failing to understand that there's that lag. But is he failing to understand it, or is he actively ignoring it because he doesn't want to accept responsibility and he is unwilling to do what is necessary to stop the pandemic? Now, before anybody gets angry at me and says that this decision was somehow practical, the truth of the matter is even they're admitting that it's not because they think that the new strain is less infectious or even that the new strain is less deadly. They are just concerned about the impact on the economy. I also want to stress, look, I have a master's degree in biosecurity and biodefense, and I know that might not mean much to a lot of people who really want to think that Joe Biden is God's gift to the earth. But the reality is that this is a terrible decision. All it would take is for us to have 1 or 2 months where we actually take coronavirus seriously. And look, all of the people that are unemployed, we could pay them to do contact tracing from their homes. And with that contact tracing, we could have a real effective strategy of putting people on quarantine and then paying them to stay home on quarantine and delivering food and other things they need to them so that they can quarantine without having to worry about how that'll affect their wallet. They also need to shut down big events and things like restaurants where people are gathering in public spaces. And the best part is it's the middle of winter. People are already trying to stay inside their homes as much as they possibly can. And would it mean that the economy would slow down a little bit? Of course it does. But wouldn't that be worth it? We're talking about thousands of lives every single day that are lost because of coronavirus. We're talking about the doctors and nurses that are overworked right now and the hospitals that are understaffed right now because this pandemic has killed so many healthcare workers and because this pandemic has stuffed these hospitals full of COVID patients. And then when people say, oh, it's just a pandemic of the unvaccinated, you know who can't get vaccinated yet? Children under 5. This is the reality that we live in right now, where even the Democrats, who are claiming to be the champions of the people, are refusing to do basic measures that would keep people safe from a pandemic that is killing thousands of people. Joe Biden literally put out a statement saying that he thinks that there's no federal response and then went on vacation and said, let the states deal with it, while the governors are fundamentally not dealing with this. We've basically come to a point where Democrats are actively working to normalize mass death and are basically telling people to just get back to work and just get back to normal. People are talking about shutting down schools as though it's a impossibility and that we should never do it again, as though children doing remote school is as horrific as children dying from coronavirus. And it's not like we don't know what we can do. Examples like China, Vietnam, and Cuba exist. We've seen how effective COVID strategies can be. And yeah, you'll hear stories about cities in China going on lockdown, but then they go off of the lockdown after a few weeks. But China is, unlike the United States, willing to take the economic hardship if that means saving lives. Because what does the economy work for? Who does the economy work for? The purpose of an economy is theoretically supposed to be the efficient distribution of resources to make sure that we all have access to the basic essentials of life. But in the United States of America, the entire economy is organized to make sure that the richest people continue to get rich, while working class people risk their lives every single day just by going to work. What we need is very simple. We need vaccine mandates, a ring quarantine strategy, real contact tracing, and shutdowns of public spaces and public events. And in order to make that an effective strategy, what we also need to do is we need to pay all of the people who would lose their jobs or lose money because of those shutdowns. It's literally just that simple. The Democrats have been in power for an entire year, and all of these random small businesses and restaurants that have gone out of business very much rests not just with the Republicans that saw the first year of the pandemic, but also with the Democrats that saw the second year of the pandemic. Both had the opportunity to make sure that these people were economically taken care of, and they decided not to, because the biggest companies in the world are making record profits, and they're fine with it. And all while they're making these record profits, they're also increasing the cost of living for everybody. So there's a big extra cherry on top that is a higher cost of living for working class families who are risking their lives during this pandemic to keep the capitalist machine running. And yet there are still some people that seem to think that capitalism has any type of redeeming quality. And remember, amid all of this, he is also refusing to give access to the vaccine to countries in the global south. This is not just a United States problem. The entire world is suffering from coronavirus because not only American politicians, but also politicians in all of those social democratic countries in Europe are also working together to deny access to vaccines to the global south. This is a pandemic of capitalism. And it is greed that is killing millions of people around the world. This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to stay up to date with my content.